It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live. Think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life. Now take what is left and live it properly. Death is nothing to us, since when we are, death has not come, and when death has come, we are not. To fear death, my friends, is to only think ourselves wise without being wise, for it is to think that we know what we do not know. For anything that man can tell, death may be the greatest good thing that can happen to them, but they fear it as if they know quite well that it is the greatest of evils. I have observed that those who have the highest souls in this life have no fear of death. Let death and exile, and all other things which appear terrible, be daily before your eyes, but death chiefly, and you will never entertain an abject thought, nor too eagerly covet anything. Death is a wish for some, the relief of many, and the end of all. Rehearse death. To say this is to tell a man to rehearse his freedom. A man who has unlearned how to die has unlearned how to be a slave. Death smiles at us all. All we can do is smile back. Life is not lost by night. Life is lost minute by minute, day by dragging day, in all the small, uncaring ways. Death is a release from the impressions of the senses, and from the desires that make us their puppets, and from the vagaries of the mind, and from the hard service of the flesh. If you are pained by external things, it is not they that disturb you, but your own judgment of them, and it is in your power to wipe that judgment now. Death is not an evil, for it frees us from all evils, and while we exist, death is not present, and when death is present, then we do not exist. The wise man neither rejects life nor fears death. Let us prepare our minds as if we have come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing. Let us balance life's books each day. The one who puts the finishing touches on their life each day is never short of time. Why should I fear death? If I am, death is not. If death is, I am not. Why should I fear that which cannot exist when I do? Death is a debt we all must pay. Remember, you must die, to live each day as if it were your last. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. If you really want to escape the things that harass you, what you're needing is not to be in a different place, but to be a different person. Reckon death as a blessing, for it is one of the things that nature wills. Death does not concern us, because as long as we exist, death is not here, and when it does come, we no longer exist. The soul takes flight to a world that is invisible, but there arriving she is sure of bliss and forever dwells in paradise. Even in the face of death, a Stoic philosopher would be undisturbed, for he knows that death is a natural part of life and nothing to be feared. The wise man does not grieve for the dying, he rejoices for the living. If you wish to be a philosopher, prepare yourself to die. The thought of death is the most powerful of all agents for purging the soul of pride and ambition. To philosophize is to learn how to die. Death is the cessation of sensation. Death is nothing to us. To fear death is to misunderstand life. Do not fear death, but rather the unlived life. You don't have to live forever, you just have to live. Dying is nothing to fear. It is the same as being born, just a little less comfortable. Death is not to be feared, but to be understood as a natural part of life's journey. What we do in life echoes in eternity, and death is the ultimate echo. Live your life as if you're ready to say goodbye to it at any moment, for death can come without any warning. Death is a return to the elements of nature, a dissolution into the universal substance from which we emerge. Do not lament the inevitability of death, but rather embrace it as a reminder to live fully and virtuously. Death is not something that only the old should consider. It can happen at any time, so it is important for everyone to be prepared for it. Death is the last enemy. Once we got past that, we can do anything. Death is the release of the soul from its earthly prison. Death is not an ending, but a transformation from one state to another. When we contemplate the brevity of life, we realize that death gives urgency and meaning to each moment we are alive. Death is the great equalizer, for it comes to both the rich and the poor, the wise and the foolish. In the face of death, it is our character and virtue that matter most, not our material possessions or worldly achievements. The fear of death is the source of all fears, but by embracing death as a natural part of life, we can transcend this fear. Death is not to be feared, but to be accepted as the ultimate destiny of all living beings. To live well is to live in harmony with the knowledge that death is an integral part of the human experience. Death is the ultimate teacher of the insignificance of worldly attachments and the importance of cultivating inner virtue. Do not fear the end, for it is but the closing of one chapter and the beginning of another. Death is the doorway to eternity, where the soul finds its liberation from the limitations of the physical world. Embrace death as a reminder to live fully in the present moment, for it's only through the acceptance of mortality that true appreciation for life emerges. In the face of death, true strength is revealed as the Stoic soul remains steady and unshaken.